release can be used for anything from clones to making houses to making giant golems to punch Susanos off of tailed beasts. The true strength of wood release, the reason why it's considered one of the strongest Kekkei Genkais in the entirety of the show, is its ability to suppress tailed beast chakra. Tailed beasts are arguably the strongest entities in the entirety of the Naruto universe. Whether you're talking the 10 tails or the 9-tailed beasts that were created using the first 10 tails, every single tailed beast is a walking natural disaster. With almost limitless chakra and the ability to create tailed beast bomb that can wipe villages off the map in one go, almost every single tailed beast except for the ones that, like humans, are walking liabilities. Which is ironic when you consider the fact that Hashirama placed them in different corners of the world to protect humans. But liability or not, fortunately would release even the playing field between humans and tailed beasts. But the weirdest part about wood release is that while we know it does suppress tailed beast chakra and therefore is incredibly useful, what we've never been told is why it suppresses tailed beast chakra. What about wood release inherently makes it so powerful against tailed beasts? For such a pivotal plot point within Naruto, making Hashirama, Yamato, and anybody who uses wood release incredibly powerful and important characters, we've never been given the answer as to why this jutsu makes them so powerful. That is, until today. See, for years there's been theories as to why wood release suppresses the chakra of tailed beasts. And we're gonna be going over those theories today, but more than that, today we're gonna be going over the real reason, the undeniable reason that wood release seals tailed beast chakra. Before we get to answering any questions or exploring any theories, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you like the sound of my voice exploring theories and answering questions, you're gonna love my other page, The Weeb Commander, where instead of talking Naruto, I talk any other anime. But before we get into all that, guys, today we need to talk about a brand new sponsor to the page, Ren. See, on this page, we've had a lot of really cool sponsors with a lot of really cool projects that are very close to my heart, but none more than we have today with Ren. Ren is a startup company with a website that helps you calculate your carbon footprint. And then Ren teaches you how you can offset your own carbon footprint. This can come through a myriad of ways, but the most common is that Ren will recommend to you climate services to fund. And these climate solutions that you're funding can be anything from tree planting to rainforest conservation to policy changes. All you have to do is go to ren.co and answer a couple of questions. These questions will ask you about your lifestyle. And while Ren fully acknowledges that nobody will ever be able to set their carbon footprint to zero, Ren wants to guide you in the direction of reducing your carbon footprint and then offsetting it by funding important climate solutions. And after making a decision in which climate solution you want to fund, you'll receive monthly updates on how that project is going. You get physical proof of every tree, acre, or liter of water that you save. The personal project that I'm funding is called Biochar in California. See, California is where I currently live, and wildfires are a massive climate crisis. The Biochar in California project removes dead and downed flammable trees from old growth forests. They then turn these dead and downed trees into biochar. Biochar is essentially what happens after you burn tree biomass. And if you take that biochar and you plant it in the soil of old growth forests, it will help in the soaking of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. But you or me can't end a climate crisis by ourselves. For that, we all need to work together. So start fighting against the climate crisis by signing up for Renco today. The first 100 people who sign up using the link in my description will have an additional 10 trees planted in their name. That's 1,000 trees just from you guys. So what are you guys waiting for? Wouldn't it be great if weebs were the one who saved the world? So as it currently stands, there's 3 theories as to why wood release suppresses tailed beast chakra. Well, I would call 2 of them a theory and 1 more of an explanation. So let's start with the theories because they're both kind of fun. The first theory states that wood release suppresses tailed beast chakra because of Hagoromo's connection to the god tree. And honestly, this theory makes a fair amount of sense. This theory basically draws a straight line between wood release and the god tree. Let me explain because it's a little complicated. Within the early confines of Naruto lore, talking about Naruto Shippuden, a god tree was created when a seed fell off a meteor onto a random planet. Now this seed would grow a god tree and the Otsutsuki were traveling through space in order to find these trees. Upon finding these trees, the Otsutsuki would be able to consume these trees and become the 10 tails. Now obviously this lore has been retconned. The way that the lore works now is that the Otsutsuki's bring bring a 10 tails with them to a planet, and then they feed a lower ranking Otsutsuki to the 10 tails, which creates a god tree. Which either version of the lore you accept, it doesn't necessarily matter. What's important is that we focus on the god tree and what it's trying to accomplish on every planet. See, the god tree is obviously a tree. The god tree with the power of the Otsutsuki grows its roots through the entirety of an earth. Once this god tree grows its roots through the entirety of the earth, it sucks all of the chakra out of the earth and out of all the living beings on said earth, or planet. I'm using the word earth for planet. Now, everything on a planet has chakra. This is nature energy. So in essence, a god tree is responsible for pulling all the nature energy out of a planet and turning it into a fruit. Also, an Otsutsuki can pluck said fruit, eat it, and increase their power. So the god tree itself has a massive connection to nature chakra. In fact, I would say that the god tree is probably the best thing at absorbing nature chakra in the entirety of Naruto's universe. So much so that in a matter of days or hours, it can deplete an entire planet of the entirety of its nature chakra. But let's not forget the god tree's connection to the 10 tails. Whether or not you believe a 10 tails is created by an Otsutsuki absorbing a god tree, or just made by an Otsutsuki in a lab to bring to different planets to then turn into a god tree, the connection is undeniable. So essentially, this theory states that because the 10 tails and the god tree are so intertwined, essentially being the same thing, that wood release is powerful against the 10 tails and derivatives of the 10 tails like the 9-tailed beasts, because it's the same power. Kind of like how Itachi's Yatamira will change its elemental release to match the ninjutsu being used against it, and thus nullifying said ninjutsu. By using wood release, which is a derivative of the god tree itself, in that it's wood which is greatly boosted by the use of senjutsu chakra, you are essentially using the power of the tailed beasts against the tailed beasts. And honestly, when you take a step back and you look at this theory from a wide perspective, this makes a lot of sense. Wood release gets exponentially stronger when nature energy is used to fuel it. This is why we only ever see Hashirama's true strongest wood release moves while he's in Sage Mode, like Sage Mode Thousand Arcanon, and his great god deity gates that were able to hold down the 10 tails itself. You're attacking a tailed beast with its own power. And I mean, honestly, consider the differences between wood release and the god tree itself. Both of them are heavily reliant on the uses of roots and the gathering of senjutsu chakra. So honestly, this isn't the craziest theory I've ever heard, especially when you consider the fact that Hashirama was a descendant of Hagoromo, a man who was once the Jinchuriki of the 10 tails, which once again is heavily tied into the god tree. And while that theory is a bunch of fun, let's be real, there is a couple plot holes in it. The next theory about why wood release suppresses tailed beast chakra is a bit more accurate to the storyline and also makes a bit more sense, but it is a little less fun. This theory essentially states that tailed beast chakra powers up wood release. And because tailed beast chakra makes wood release stronger, wood release is the perfect thing for suppressing tailed beasts. It's kind of like Denji slicing up the Eternity Devil. He can lose blood, but as long as he's drinking blood, he's basically a perpetual motion machine. Hashirama or Yamato using wood release against a tailed beast is really no different. You see, multiple times throughout the duration of Naruto, we've seen that tailed beast chakra, specifically Kurama's, makes wood release flower. And while it's not always a flower, when a tailed beast, specifically Kurama, is using their chakra around White Zetsu or Hashirama or Yamato's wood release, we'll see that the wood release will grow branches or flowers. We see this most specifically when Naruto first learns how to use Jin Cloak. When he first activates his Jin Cloak with Killer Bee, all of Yamato's wooden posts that are around Naruto begin to grow. That is, the wooden posts that usually have like little face in the mouth begin to turn into actual trees. Yamato states that is because Naruto is overbrimming with life force. Now, life force can mean a lot of things in Naruto, unfortunately, but more often than not, life force is talking about somebody's chakra. This is why Hashirama and the Uzumakis were said to have such incredible life force, because their supernatural chakra reserves allowed them to live for a very long time, because as long as one has chakra, they can continue to live. Of course, Yamato could also have been referring to nature energy, as an abundance of nature energy also would have made trees around Naruto begin to bloom. However, this probably isn't the case because at this current moment, Naruto hadn't completely mastered using Sage Mode and his Jin Cloak simultaneously. So more likely than not, the life force that we're seeing is a referral to Kurama's chakra now pushing itself out of Naruto. But what's interesting about this is that Kurama's chakra is making wood release plants again. And we see this happen once again when Naruto comes into combat against White Zetsu. The White Zetsu were made using Hashirama's cells, which basically just makes them human forms of wood release. When Naruto finds himself coming into combat with White Zetsus, every time he comes into contact with them, they begin to sprout plants. So just like with Yamato's wood release, they are returning to plants. And while technically this is a weakness of the White Zetsu, in general, it's a strength of wood release. See, this is obviously unfortunate for White Zetsu because they're bodies that want to move. Being a tree isn't probably going to help unless, of course, you're an ent. But in the case of suppressing a tailed beast, this is a massive boost in power, because wood release is able to control manufactured wood and just wood that exists. So if hypothetically the tailed beast that you are now trying to seal with your wood release's chakra is seeping into the wood that you are using and making that wood grow exponentially, that's kind of free extra wood that you now get to use to suppress said tailed beast. Not to mention the chakra of the tailed beast is seeping into that wood release. So while you're technically getting more chakra to use for your wood release, the tailed beast that you're sealing is getting less and less and less chakra. So while hypothetically in the beginning of the battle, it might be an unfair battle for the wood release user, as the battle goes on and the wood release gains in strength by taking chakra from the tailed beast, the tides switch. And while that does technically answer why wood release would suppress the chakra of a tailed beast, it doesn't necessarily answer why wood release absorbs the chakra of a tailed beast. Like, yes, we understand that the wood release gets stronger while coming into combat with a tailed beast while the tailed beast get weaker, but why does the wood release make the tailed beast weaker in the first place? And for that, we can either look back at the first theory, which states that the connection of wood release to the divine tree is what allows it to convert nature energy into chakra, and since the 10 tails is essentially just an amalgamation of nature energy with no consciousness whatsoever, but it converts nature energy into a chakra fruit which can be consumed by an Otsuki to give them a boost to their chakra. This connection between the divine tree, the 10 tails, and wood release is what allows wood release to suck in chakra from tailed beasts who are also themselves just nature energy. And then the wood release sucking in the nature energy of that tailed beast converts that nature energy into chakra, making the wood release stronger. You sticking with me on those theories? Good, because now they're over. While those theories are incredible and could very well be the reason that wood release subdues tailed beast chakra, we may or may not have actually already been given the answer as to why wood release suppresses tailed beast chakra simply by the name of a wood release jutsu. You see, you know the ability that Yamato uses where he shoots up a bunch of wooden stakes around Naruto to make sure that his Jinchuriki chakra doesn't get out of control? You remember the one where there's a circle of stakes that go around Naruto and there's metal on the inside, and Yamato has the kanji for sit written on his hand that he has to place onto Naruto to suppress his chakra. Do you remember the name for that jutsu? Of course you don't. It's like 17 words long. The name for that technique in English, and I'm going to have to read it, is Hokage style 60-year-old technique Kakuan entering society with bliss bringing hands. Now, this is a rough translation from Japanese, because in Japanese, it's Hokage Shiki Jigon Jutsu Kakuan Nitan Shisu. Knowing what this name means in Japanese is really important, because almost every single word in this technique is a reference to something. Jigon is a term in Japanese for people in their 60s. It's a slang term converted from Mandarin, based off a saying by Confucius, which when translated to English states, "At 60, my ears became obedient," which was Confucius saying that people, once they get older, don't get upset by the things they hear anymore. Well, the last part of the technique's name, Kokuan Shidan Shiswu, comes from a famous series of Japanese short poems and accompanying images called Tenbul pictures. Now, these pictures in poems are meant to illustrate the different levels of Zen discipline, depicting to somebody how they can achieve the true highest state of Zen enlightenment. But the poem that this technique is referencing is the 10th poem, where a herdsman who reaches the highest level of Zen enlightenment returns to his village, and he comes back into the village with his hands in a peaceful sign to teach other people how to reach the highest level of enlightenment. Niten Shiswu can be returning to society with bliss-bringing hands, which when translated more contextually says hands that help others reach enlightenment. So now that we understand the etymology of this jutsu's name, how does it answer the question of how does wood release suppress tailed beast chakra? Well, the answer lies in the name itself: obedience and enlightenment. So we all know that tailed beasts are just an amalgamation of nature chakra, and usually a malignant amalgamation. And the reason that wood release is able to suppress tailed beast chakra isn't because it's seeping away the power of the tailed beasts, it's because it's seeping away the malice of the tailed beasts. It's not as though wood release is stealing chakra from these tailed beasts, because remember, tailed beasts are only made of chakra. If wood release was soaking away their chakra, tailed beasts would have disappeared a long time ago. Essentially, any time that Hashirama or Yamato use wood release against a tailed beast, they would have been stealing the tailed beast's life force. And that tailed beast's life force would have soaked into the wood release and gone back to the earth. And if Hashirama was to hold one of these tailed beasts in wood release for, I don't know, a couple of days, who's to say that tailed beast would still have chakra left after that? So it's not that the wood release is stealing away their chakra or their life force. It's that the way that wood release is inherently tied into nature energy is able to tap into the nature energy that comprises prizes tailed beasts. And since the nature energy of the wood release is pacifying, it's able to pacify the nature energy of the tailed beast. This is why the kanji on Hashirama or Yamato's hand says sit, because meditation and Zen enlightenment is usually achieved while sitting. And by stamping this kanji onto a tailed beast or a Jinchuriki, either through the medium of the spiked circle with Yamato, or by funneling this technique through the wood golem like Hashirama, Hashirama and Yamato are able to bring enlightenment with their bliss-giving hands to the Jinchuriki or the tailed beast. And as they pacify the nature energy of the tailed beast, it becomes more subservient and therefore it appears to be weaker. But in reality, it's just not fighting back. That leads to the question, why did Kurama and Naruto's Jin Cloak make wood release or white Zetsu sprout branches? Well, that might actually have less to do with Kurama and the Jin Cloak and more to do with the part of Kurama that was sealed in Naruto. So you'll have to remember that the half of Kurama that was sealed in Naruto was the yang half. And to give you a quick refresher on yin and yang release, yin is the manipulation of non-real things like genjutsu, while yang is the enhancement and manipulation of real life things like wood release. And thus it could be less about the fact that Kurama's sealed in Naruto and more about the fact that Naruto is overbrimming with yang release chakra. And since wood release is a yang release, Kurama and or Naruto's Jin Cloak being around a yang release like wood release would make it grow even more. Because mind you, the only person who makes wood release grow is Kurama and Naruto. Not any of the other tailed beasts, not even the 10 tails. So wouldn't it be more rational to assume that it's something tied to Naruto and Kurama than all the other tailed beasts? I think so. But what do you guys think? Did you enjoy today's lesson in etymology? Do you think there's some other reason that wood release suppresses the chakra of tailed beast? Tell me in the comments below, and while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Listen, if Kishimoto's not gonna answer the questions himself, I'm gonna do it.
"See you, and I almost never